Good morning, everybody. We have some big news breaking, and boy, I tell you, as usual, the social media and the corporate media are just going for the shiny object and missing what is really important, what has really happened. So fill your cups. Let's do this. Good morning, everybody. Boy, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Before we get started, I've got a little announcement to make. Stick around for the end of the show. There is going to be, I should say, I have an announcement to make. I'll make it at the end of the show after the streaming ends. We're going to talk about a new project that I'm getting into, but we're going to do it after the show. So if you want to hear about it, come see me at the end of the show. As usual, we've got things happening in the world. We do. And social media is glamming on to the shiny object, the Schadenfreude. Yeah, there you, there you go. Donald Trump got booed. Donald Trump got booed. And that is what is all over social media today and driving the news today. He went to the Libertarian convention. Yes, the Libertarians have a convention. And I will tell you, folks, whenever anybody tells me, yeah, I'm not really a Republican, I'm more a Libertarian. No, you're not. I just tell them, no, you're not. No, you are not. I have to tell you, folks, these groups, people say stuff like that because they don't want to admit they're a Republican. They don't want to be responsible for all the crap that Republicans do. So they say, well, I'm a libertarian, but they have no clue what libertarians are. And this convention really highlights that for you. And what's worse, it shows just how quickly Donald Trump, there is no moral anything behind Donald Trump. And he puts it on full display. And we're going to get into it. First of all, let's get into what the popular kids are talking about. They're talking about Trump got booed. Okay, well, there you go.
The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. No, only do the Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States.
Why does he always sound, when he tries to say something, thinks he's exciting the crowd? Sounds like he's sitting on the toilet having a hard time. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's and it was funny. Here's a super cut of Trump just being booed, man. I want to make sure that you get your fill of Trump getting booed. Here's a super cut that's going around of all the different clips together.
That's good. It's a theft. We believe we cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. And I stand And I am not a good thing. That's nice. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice.
So yeah. And then he loses his temper and tells him, well, if you just want to keep getting your 3 or 4%, you know, I mean, just, yeah, it gives you the impression that that was the entire speech, the entire engagement, what happened at that convention. And it's not. It's just not. This also happened, and I want you to pay attention to the signs in this. This was also part of, and it give you some idea of the size of what we're talking about. You know, I really hate the corporate media and what's happened we're going to talk about social media and that void that they've filled um, from the media, because people are really turning away from the corporate media. They're moving to independent media like Midas Touch, You're Coming Here, things like that. But the narrative you got off of everything today was that he was just booed mercifully. He wasn't. He wasn't. There was actually a point where this happened.
And I want to ensure that libertarians are helping to lead that task force. You'll be on that task force, many of you. As everyone knows, it will be my great honor to pardon the peaceful January 6th protesters.
That's big.
Or, as I often call them, the hostages. They're hostages. There has never been a group of people treated so harshly or unfairly in our country's history. This abuse will be rectified, and it will be rectified very quickly. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbrecht to a sentence of time.
Yeah, that happened. Again, you know, and people will fall into the trap of, you know, the pitfall of, oh, he said he's going to free the January 6th insurrectionists, and that'll be what they talk about, and they'll completely ignore the rest of what he said there. And I love you folks. God, I say this every show, but I want to point it out. You are not the same as those people. You are an informed group of people. And I need you to understand that. I need you to understand. Look at this. You got James Jeremiah here. Ross is a drug dealer. It's worse than that. Ross is worse than that, James. But yeah, Ross is a drug dealer. Horrifically. This is Ross Ulbrecht. And that's why I say people that say, oh, I'm a libertarian, and say, you're not a libertarian. You have no idea what these people stand for. This is Ross Ulbrecht, a picture with his mom. He's in prison for the rest of his life with no possibility of parole. Well, that sounds pretty damn serious. He must have done something pretty damn. He did. He did. He very much did. He ran the Silk Road. Silk Road was a website, an exchange where you could buy anything. And I don't just mean drugs. Yes, it was yeah, definitely. And he was more than a dark web drug dealer. There was human trafficking, murder for hire. They put him in prison for life without parole. And it was Preet Bharara, by the way. You folks know who Preet Bharara is. He is the one that actually prosecuted him. Yes, he was prosecuted and sent down for drugs, but there was so much horrible shit going on. And I have to tell you, this is what I love about smart prosecutors. Smart prosecutors don't go for the press. They don't go for, oh, well, let me prosecute him on every single thing that he ever did in his life because that's my job. No, smart prosecutors are like, I can put him in prison for the rest of his natural life with this, and I have this. I can convict him on this and get the results I want. That's Preet Bharara for you. I love a smart prosecutor. I really do. But yeah, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. Ross Ulbrecht is this guy. He's the creator and the owner of the Silk Road website, found guilty. He went by the name Dread Pirate Roberts on the dark web. And yeah, he was convicted. But it was way more than just dealing drugs. I mean, you're talking about murder for hire, human trafficking, all kinds of awful crap that happened. And you have Trump, just because he was booed, just because he was looking bad. Do you think he knows who Ross Ulbrecht is? No. No. He has no clue. He has no clue who and what, whose sentence he just made a public vow to libertarians to commute his sentence. None whatsoever. He was just booed, made the crowd cheer for him, which fed his fragile ego. And exactly, Deb Denny, do you think he cares? No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He just wants to use them for their vote. And that's why I say, folks, people that say, oh, I'm a libertarian. No, you're not. No, you're not. You don't support what these people support. You don't. You're just a Republican that wants to vote Republican, that doesn't want to be responsible for all the awful shit that they are. That's what you are when you say you're a libertarian. Did you see the size of that crowd? That was their convention. It was like a hotel conference room. That was their convention. And the Democratic Party, thank you, Christian Clickguard. Welcome. Welcome. Love the Danish folks here. I really do. We're going to talk about you in this next segment, by the way. So yeah, that is the big story, don't you think? A guy that wants to be president of the United States is talking about not just commuting the sentences or pardoning insurrectionists, violent insurrectionists that attacked police officers and shit and pissed in our Capitol, tried to overthrow our democracy. But he's also talking about just because he got booed, releasing a guy that ran a dark web hellhole on a whim. On a whim. No thought, no understanding, no education, no any. I think that is more important than Trump got booed. As much as I enjoyed watching him get booed, I think the cheers that he got were more sickening, to be quite honest with you. And that's what I hate about our corporate news. And I'm so happy, Dorothy, thank you for the support. You allow me to do this full time. Glad Trump got such a Bronx Jew. There you go, man. There you go. Thank you for bringing up the Bronx. I wasn't even going to talk about it today, but you brought it up, so I'll mention it. John, thank you for the support. Where I'm going with this is you guys make it possible for me to talk about what's really going on, the important stuff, and I appreciate it. You allow me to do this full time, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for the support. Yeah, the Bronx. It's AstroTurf crap, and this leads into what we're going to talk about next. It's one of the subjects that we're going to talk about next. A big part and parcel to what we're going to talk about next. The AstroTurf, what you saw in the Bronx. Immediately, you had the subset of social media pushing a narrative. Oh, man, them Democrats are in trouble. Trump is drawn. Look at this huge, massive crowd that Trump's drawn in the Bronx. The heart of Democratic voters, the blue Bronx. They love Trump. Yeah, no, there's a few hundred people. We got an aerial shot of it. You know, Trump and them didn't put out an aerial shot of it, of course. They kept getting these tight little, little slivers. That's how you do it. You get a small venue, like, I don't know, the Libertarian convention, and then you give a tight shot with a crowd of people, and then you just tell people they said 10 to 25,000 people were in the Bronx in a park that holds 3,500 people max. And we saw the pictures. It was just, if I had to guess, I'd say 700-800 people. And then we looked at the crowd in the last show. It's the same dregs that follow him from rally to rally to rally to rally. It's the same dregs. It wasn't even people from the Bronx. So yeah, it's a couple hundred people showed up. Woo! I'm scared now. But they put that crap out on social media. And the reason they do it is there's a void, folks. There is a void, an information void. People have lost confidence in the corporate media. I don't know about you, but I cut the cord. I don't even have cable anymore. If I get cable news, I literally have to go stream it intentionally to me. And it leaves an information void there. And that's why I started doing what I was doing. I work with Midas Touch. I send them, I'm slacking. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Midas. I've been slacking, have not been sending pieces in like I should. We'll rectify that. But I've been working on this show, folks, to get you good information, real information, so that you can see, yeah, it wasn't just Trump got booed. That wasn't all that happened there. And it wasn't really what happened there. He also got cheered, and what he got cheered for and how awful that is. And as you can tell, I manipulated nothing. I just showed you exactly what happened. And look how informed you are now. And I hate that, folks. I really hate that. It's one of the reasons I do the show is there's so much fictional stuff out there. I rail against Hollywood. I do. So many people get their views on like drug cartels and the border and war and everything because they watch movies. And don't get me wrong, I love movies. I love movies. I do. I'm a movie fanatic. And I think that every once in a while, a movie really comes out with a great line or a great notion or that really is fantastic. And one of them is, you remember that, I think it's 2012, 2015, somewhere in there, there's that movie Sicario with Josh. I'm a huge Josh Brolin fan. I love Josh Brolin movies, in movies. I love him in just about everything he does. It was Benicio del Toro and Emily Blunt. It was a good movie. It was fictional as hell, completely fictional, 100%. There was no reality in any of it at all. But it was a good movie, very entertaining. And there was a great line in it too. And I'll be honest with you, it comes to mind because one of the most common emails I get is people asking me, hey, Paul, can you explain how Russia has bought the Republican Party? Can you draw the dots, connect the dots on that? And what I'm feeling when you ask me that reminds me of that line from Sicario, where Emily Blunt's character, Kate, asks Benicio del Toro's character, Alejandro. They're flying in a plane, and she asks him to explain the cartels. And he looks at her and he says, "You're asking me how a watch is made." Right now, let's just focus on the time. And that's kind of how I feel when people are like, hey, explain how Russia influenced, because there's so much. There's so much. And one of the biggest challenges, I invite people to do what I do all the time. I do. I say, hey, get out there and talk. We need more people talking. And then people immediately find out this ain't easy. I'm going to talk to you for an hour, hour and a half on subjects. It's going to make sense. It's going to be coherent, and you're going to learn things, and you're going to walk away with great information and fired up. That ain't easy. That, especially when we start talking about a subject as complex as, Paul, explain to me how Russians infiltrated the Republican Party. There are so many dots to put together there. It is so difficult to keep a straight train of thought that makes a clear, coherent response to that. But every once in a while, the Republicans do something that make it really freaking easy. And that, my friends, just happened. It just happened. This happened in Tennessee. They silenced Brother Jones again, Justin Jones. And it was in a discussion about a resolution to honor the Danube Institute. The Tennessee government is honoring the Danube Institute. Here we go. I've got the video for you. From Tennessee Holler, by the way. Great follow. First of all, I want you to listen to this, how he pronounces it. It's Danube, as in the Blue Danube Waltz, the Danube River. Listen to the way this moron speaks in his bill, his resolution to honor the Danube Institute. He has no clue what it is. Pay attention. I'm sorry, folks. Let me start that again. Thanks for catching that. I appreciate you. Thanks. When it goes full screen like that, I can't see what's going on with StreamYard. So let me do that again. Apologize. My bad. Thanks for hanging with me. Here we go.
What this organization is, and so that just shows us that there's not been thought put into this. This is about fascism. This is an organization that has been allied with fascist governments, and I don't know if that's what this government wants to be. We see what we're doing here, expelling members for dissenting, but that's what was happening in Hungary. And so this is very disturbing, it's very troubling. It's perpetuating this false moral narrative of persecution, pushing this very anti-democratic, authoritarian, autocratic way of thinking, counter to what we should stand for in this body. We're sliding in, and we're trying to model ourselves off those very troubling forms of government.
They solve issues through spiritual growth in generations. And I think that's something that we could really grab a hold of in this state and in America and look at.
If you believe that to be true, Representative Hicks, perhaps it's time to switch professions, because we're here as a government body to promote the public good. If you want to go to theology school, I see some folks from Vanderbilt.
The Danube Institute had.
I just love that. The Danube Institute.
The Danube Institute headquartered in Budapest, Hungary, and is one of the
headquartered in Hungary. Reverend Tim Hicks here. Yeah, Reverend Tim Hicks has a resolution to honor the Danube Institute, and he has no clue who they are. He just knows that money and the talking points he wants put out comes from them. So we got a problem. I've been telling you folks, and you asked me to explain this. How does Russian money get to Republicans? How are they gaming the system? Well, I'm going to lay it out for you here. Starts right here. And it's something that you need to know as we start this conversation. This was from Responsible Statecraft. They decided they were going to do an investigation into money going into these think tanks, because I've been warning you about these things. You remember me talking about Christopher Rufo, the Manhattan Institute, how the anti-CRT stuff came out, the the George Floyd and, the Black Lives Matter, all of that came out of and was funded by a billionaire through the Manhattan Institute, through Christopher Rufo, into social media to fill that void. They tell you themselves that's their objective, to fill the void that has been created by people pulling back from corporate media. So they've come up with all of these right-wing, just like I speak to you here, there are right-wingers pumping out misinformation through Turning Point USA and all those different types of organizations. There are hundreds of them, folks. And I love the fact they call me a paid shield because they've got a picture of me at the White House. They're like, oh, he's a paid shield. Nobody pays me. You pay me. You pay me. That you support this show. That's it. I got no billionaire sugar daddy. I've got no institute behind me funding me doing this. They do. Those troll armies aren't free, folks. There's a reason I don't have a troll army online barraging X, because it takes money. And Responsible Statecraft, they took a look at it. They said, what's going on with these institutes? Because they're not governed. They're not regulated. No one can keep track. And the first thing if you read this article, the first thing they say is, we can't tell you how much money we're talking about. We can't, because there's no reporting of it. And when we dug into it, basically the only way we were able to find out anything at all is some of the institutes partially disclosed. Give you an idea. Remember I showed you Leonard Leo got $1.6 billion from Bar Side? Well, you can't hide that on the taxes. You can't. And people are going to ask questions. So they'll put out a statement about something like that. But it is not anywhere near all the money. What they've discovered here is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This was back in 2020 when they started looking at this, and they came up with what they could find was $174 million. But that was just what they told you about. They themselves tell you, look, it's probably more like 500 million to $1 billion. By now, coming into the 2024 election, it's billions with an S. And we're not talking about nobodies, folks. Take a look at these institutes. You're talking about you're receiving foreign donors that we know. This is what we know about. In a completely unregulated, completely dark environment, we were able to bump into accidentally these groups. These are just the top 5. World Resource, back in 2020, mind you, we're in 2024 now. World Resources Institute, the Center for Global Development, Brookings, you've heard of Brookings, the Atlantic Council, and the Aspen Institute. These are all well-known think tanks. Think tanks. And think tanks aren't regulated. They aren't. What they do is they pull together a group of people that it is the tail wagging the dog. They want to make a point. They want to sell something, a policy or an idea. So what you do is you start a think tank. I'd love to start a think tank. If any of you are billionaires out there hearing my voice, please send me $25, $50 million so I can start a think tank. Because what they do is they say, okay, I got a message. I've got an objective. I've got an agenda. Let's bring in people with alphabets behind their name that will create research that supports what we want to say. And where does it get validity? Well, you just saw it. You just saw it. Reverend Tim is having the Tennessee government honor and sanction the Danube Institute. And the Danube Institute is going to take that and they're going to put it on their website about what great work they did for the state of Tennessee. And you, who are you? You're out there, somebody living your life, doing everything you need to do. We've talked about the limited bandwidth people have. You're not me. You're not eye deep in this stuff. I mean, you're the incredibly well-informed folks out there that are in the know. You stay ahead of me on most of my points, but really, do you spend time tracking what these groups are doing? Well, to CNN's, to give them props, blind squirrel finds nut. CNN did a story, and this is new. We're going to we're moving out of 2020 territory to news stories. You see the date on this is May 2nd. American conservatives embrace Hungary's authoritarian leader at Budapest conference. Folks, they're only 5 years late. They're only 5 years late, but they got here. Thank God they got here. Mod Day says to hell with supporting tyranny. Here, there, everywhere. Stay free. Amen. Amen. If you read this article, if you bother to read what CNN has to say about it, I read all the time, folks. This is what I do. I read, I absorb information from different sources. This is what I do. If you read their article, you have to get about halfway down in this very long, about 7-8 minute article, and you get to this paragraph. 2 American nonprofits that are actively planning policies for a second Trump term have shown an interest in Hungary and Orban's model. The Heritage Foundation, which has released a 900-plus page policy roadmap called Project 2025, and the America First Policy Institute, another nonprofit that is working to prepare for a second Trump term, have both partnered with think tanks that receive funding from the Hungarian government. The Danube Institute, folks. They've partnered with the Danube Institute. And we've talked about the 2025 project before. We talk about it all the time. It is damn dangerous. Project 2025. You can look it up yourself, see for yourself. I've told you what they've said. I told you what they're doing. They still have it online. You can still go read for yourself. They are telling you with their own mouths. This is from the Heritage Foundation. Well, the other institute they were talking about is the America First Policy Institute. Where have we heard that before? America First. America First. Oh yeah. The Trump campaign. The Trump campaign. And if you go to the America First Policy Institute and take a look at who they are, this is their leadership page. I'm not making anything up. I'm just showing you what they're telling you. Who is the America First Policy Institute? Well, it's run by Linda McMahon here. She's the chair of the board and chair of the Center for the American Worker. Linda McMahon. Well, she ran the Small Business Administration during the Trump administration. Then, of course, you've got Larry Kudlow, Trump cheerleader. He ran the National Economic Council for Trump in the Trump administration. Yeah, Larry Kudlow, I know y'all know Larry Kudlow. He's the guru that gets everything wrong. was on Fox Business. Oh, my goodness. Then you got Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins, the next one here. She was on Trump's U.S. Domestic Policy Council. Are you seeing a theme here? Are you seeing a theme here? It doesn't stop there. It goes on and on and on. Next one here, the Honorable Chad Wolf. Honorable my ass. Chad Wolf, you folks are in tune with politics, so that name's probably ringing a bell for you. You're probably saying to yourself, Chad Wolf. I've heard that before. Chad Wolf. Yeah. And I want you to think in terms of the 2025 project and what they're telling you they want to do. Chad Wolf, Trump made him head of Department of Homeland Security, but he did it illegally. He was forced to step down. Because Trump just said, you know what? This is the guy that runs the Department of Homeland Security. And it doesn't work that way. He was forced to resign. And several of the things that he implemented were immediately, this had to go through the court system, folks. They had to roll back decisions he made. And then whistleblowers came forward, actual legitimate whistleblowers, not like, foreign spies, people that actually worked in the Department of Homeland Security, came forward and said, Chad Wolf told the entire Department of Homeland Security, you will not look at Russia. Let that one sink in for a minute. Every investigative body within the Department of Homeland Security was told to cease and desist on Russia. Are you putting the dots together? You got the Danube Institute that has partnered with the America First Policy Institute. And when I say partnered, I mean given money. I mean given money and trips. And these institutes lobby. Yeah, they lobby. And they do more than that, folks. Y'all remember who Keith Olbermann is? Y'all remember Keith Olbermann? I love that guy. I fucking love that guy. He is still out there banging away, folks. I watch his stuff. I follow him on social media. He used to date Laura Ingraham. Yeah, those two dated. And he told a story about when he was dating her. Do you remember back in the day how we were like, how did these Republicans all end up on the same talking point? Every damn one of them come out. Here we Democrats we're like herding cats. Everybody's everywhere. But the Republicans, they're all like same talking point all the time. You know where that started? Laura Ingraham on Fox News. Keith Olbermann tells a story. She had a fax machine in her apartment. And the money people behind the Republican Party would prep her talking points that were going to be disseminated through Fox News. And her fax machine, do you remember fax webs where your fax machine would call 150, 250, 350 phone numbers and send the same fax out, group faxes? Yeah, that's how they were getting on the same talking point. Her old fax machine. We're talking decades ago when people still use fax machines. That's what this is, folks. A modern version of this. Greg Edmonds says Hungary is the funnel Russia uses to pour money into the Republican pockets. We're getting there, bud. You're always ahead of us. We're getting there. We're getting there. And on that note, we have this. Again, I don't make it up. I don't manipulate shit. I show you what they're saying to you. America First visits Hungary. Key takeaways. This is from Robert Law. We're going to talk about that in a minute. During a recent trip to Hungary, I represented the America First Policy Institute to gain firsthand insight into the country's effective border security policies. Who talks about border security? Who's on that talking point? There are strong natural synergies between the small Central European country and the AFPI because we each advocate for policies that put the interests of our respective citizens first. Many of Hungary's border controls are similar to policies put in place. Forgive me. Many of Hungary's border controls are similar to policies put in place during the Trump administration or advocated for by AFPI to solve the current humanitarian and security crisis at the U.S.-Mexican border. Huh. Oh, what do you know? The Danube Institute and the America First Institute, which is the Trump administration, Trump's re-election campaign, in unregulated money that nobody can look at, are pushing the same narrative. Folks, this is what I was talking about. You had CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, held in Hungary. And then all of a sudden, boom, we magically have a border crisis. Magically. Why? Because that's what Viktor Orban does. And where does Viktor Orban get his money? He is owned by Vladimir Putin. Before we get into that, let's talk about this Robert Law for a minute and who he is and why he is where he is. This is Robert Law. This is Robert Law. He's an immigrant hater. He's from that group, Fair. Yeah, Federation for Immigration Reform, FAIR. Or people that hate DACA recipients, the people that have been using immigration forever. Yeah, this guy. Why do you think somebody stupid as Trump, and he's stupid by the ham-handed way he handled it, he's lazy, stupid, and moronic. Why do you think Trump, instead of picking up the phone and calling people or having somebody call people, because he can't create an actual working organization, and tell them, hey, man, kill that border bill, it wouldn't help me. No, he's got to take his stupid, bloated orange butt in front of a camera and say, kill the border bill, and made the Republicans own it. Don't give Biden a win. Say the quiet part out loud. Thank God they're as stupid as they are, because they're so freaking well-funded, and they have this infrastructure that Putin supports behind them. At CPAC, Hungary's Viktor Orban decries the LGBTQ plus rights migration. LGBTQ plus rights and migration. Yeah, that's what he sells in his home country. It's Christian nationalism. It's hating on gay people and the border. And what have the Republicans become here? Christian nationalism, hating on the LGBTQ plus community, and the border. They literally just took Putin's money that was funneled through Viktor Orban in Hungary and ran with their policies, because it worked with the bigots in Hungary. They got the bigots in Hungary to vote against. Hungary is the second poorest nation in the European Union. And they got the bigots in Hungary to vote against their own self-interest. So they said, let's do that. Let's do that. And I hate to tell you, folks, I told my Danish friends, we're going to get around to you. It's not just Putin that funds them. You do. Because you're good people and you're trying to help the people of Hungary. And it's going a long way. I'm not saying stop doing this, because right now there are massive anti-Russian protests going on in Hungary. Viktor Orban's days may be numbered, because these people are not stupid. They can see there is a bright future for Hungary within the European Union. There is not a bright future for Hungary with Russia. An example will be, an example is perfectly that Viktor Orban chose to enter into an exclusive deal with Russia to buy gas and oil. By entering into that agreement with Russia, he's actually paying substantially more. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars more than what they would have paid if they'd have just bought the same gas and oil on the open market. That's really happening, folks. And the EU is funding Hungary to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. And I'm not saying stop to our European audience. I'm not. And I'm not saying you're at fault here. I am not. I'm just saying, know that your money, they're taking money that they should be spending on themselves, and they're sending it here to the United States of America to fund Trump, because none of it is regulated. No one knows how much. Nobody knows the sources. But we do know this. Putin is the richest man on the face of the planet because of his corruption. Putin funds Viktor Orban and the Hungarian government. And the Hungarian government funds the Danube Institute. This is the Bettiani Foundation, folks. This is who funds the Hungarian government, and the Bettiani Foundation fund the Danube Institute. And this is the stuff that comes out of the Bettiani Institute, or the Bettiani Foundation. That's the group that took over the universities in Hungary. Just like the Republicans are trying to do here, they're trying to drive liberalism out of universities and supplant it with sickening conservatism. They didn't invent that. Our Republicans aren't bright people, folks, and they don't really like to work for a living. So they're just doing what Viktor Orban did in Hungary. What do they talk about? Well, they support Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That's one thing. Transgender phenomenon in sports today. Rarest unicorn on the face of the earth. But who talks about that all the time? Folks, this isn't America. This isn't America. This is in Hungary. The transgender phenomenon in sports today. Christianity in the 21st century, Christian nationalism. Who funds the Bettiani Foundation? Nobody knows. Nobody. They don't divulge shit. Viktor Orban's not going to tell you. But it's Putin. It's Putin. This is the Danube Institute, folks. Danube Institute. Visiting fellow Christopher Rufo, who gets block grants. Who's Victor Rufo? He's the guy that Christopher Rufo. He's the guy that I've warned you about multiple times. He also is a fellow at the Manhattan Institute. He's Mr. Anti-Woke. And what is his job? And what does he do? That void inside our media, he fills it with that crap. White people, you're victims. Those gay people, they're coming after you. The border's a crisis. You asked me to connect the dots for you. Those are the dots. You have Putin, who wants to destroy America, who funds Viktor Orban in Hungary. You have Tucker Carlson, the entire Republican establishment. You saw the government of Tennessee honoring the Danube Institute, which funnels money to American think tanks and also funds lobbying here in the United States. They pay for trips. And folks, you'll believe it when it's AIPAC. You will. You'll just accept it. AIPAC. Oh, man, the Israeli government, they fund trips to Israel. You see it all the time. You see them on the news. What are American politicians doing at the Temple of the Mount? Same damn thing. And they've been doing it for decades. Why do you think they held CPAC in Hungary? Folks, the entire Christian nationalist movement, Putin figured this out decades ago. That's why he embraced the church. Do you think an old KGB guy actually likes the church? No, he embraced the church because it's a tool. They're using it there just like they use it here. That's what they're doing. The anti-other, the same narrative you hear here in the United States it came out of this. It came out of this. All of it. It's not homegrown. Why do you think none of it makes sense? I mean, really, let me show you something here. 1 second. Three days ago, CBS finally ran this. How long have I been telling you this, folks? How long have you and I been having this discussion where I've told you everything about the border is just made up crap? CBS finally ran this story. No one else. The corporate media did not grab a hold of this at all. It's what I've told you all along. Did I not tell you this? Did I not tell you that we had a surge in December because it's December, it's the holidays? They don't even mention that in the article. They don't even tell you why there was a surge in December. It was the holidays. Finally, 3 days ago, CBS runs an article. Finally. How long have I been telling you? I went down to the damn border and showed you how quiet it was. You know, the Mexican ducks were coming. You saw that? Building fences to keep out nobody. And the dumbest of the dumb are buying it all. And it comes straight out of, I've just shown you. Yeah, fact bet. Fact bet, baby. Beat him to death with a fact bet. Knowledge, information. I just showed you. You asked me that question. How does Russia buy Republicans? And they showed you themselves. The Tennessee Republicans are honoring the Danube Institute for doing it. Putin to Orban to American institutes and think tanks, which no spending is tracked, because you can send a politician anywhere in the world and feed them the best, finest food. You could send them to Tokyo for Wagyu beef, and it's all legal. 100% unregulated and legal. Thanks, John Roberts. Because all you have to do is talk about a policy. You know, Laura Ingraham's fax machine? Get on the message. The border, it's a crisis. It's a crisis when there's nothing going on at the border. Viktor Orban did the same thing. Take over those universities. Too many liberal thinkers there. You gotta turn those universities into Republican factories. That's what Viktor Orban did. Christian nationalism. Christians are under attack, man. They're under attack. Then people are trying to come across the border and take your values, force gayness on you. It's all straight from Putin. And folks, that's just one. When I made the comment that it's like when you ask me that question, explain how Russia influences our, how did they buy Republicans? This is just one set of dots in a massive wall full of dots. Like I said, when you ask me that question, you're asking me how a watch is made. Let's just focus on the time. Vote. You have to vote. You have to vote. You do. And you have to vote Democrat every time. There's a reason that somebody like me is dyed in the wool, died hard. I will always vote Democrat. Yeah, it's like herding cats, but damn, that's better than goose stepping. It's better than goose stepping, man. And when take all the talk away, at the end of the day, even when the Democrats screw up, they screw up trying to help you. Even their mistakes are made trying to help you. What are Republicans? I mean, good God. A resolution to honor the Danube Institute? Really? Really? And you're going to, and folks, I want you to really take this home as the last part of this. They cut off Brother Jones's mic. They did the same thing on the floor of the House of Representatives the other day. A Democrat, all he said was Trump was indicted. Trump was standing trial and accused of felonies. Trump was legally adjudicated a rapist. Cut him, used to let him speak. And they don't even own the government. That was just the little bit of power they had. Imagine what it's going to be if they get power. I mean, like all the power. They're already doing that now in front of you for you to see. Imagine what they're going to do if they have power. You got to vote, folks. You've got to support Democrats. You've got to stick to news organizations. Come here, go to Midas Touch, Get real information. People that will tell you the whole story. They won't just tell you, oh, isn't that funny? Trump got booed. That's the story. No, get the whole story, folks. Get the whole story. Well, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you talking to me. If you got any questions, if there's anything I didn't make clear, we'll take a couple minutes. I apologize. I am a little short on time today, so we're not going to be able to do a really long roundtable, but it's an important conversation. And like I said, the important part is getting everything out in a salient way. And if I missed anything, or you have any questions, or didn't understand a point I made, or didn't understand where the dots connect, please feel free to ask. Throw it out there. That's what the live chat is all about. Best community anywhere. Anywhere. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. That's funny. You know, folks, when I say I want to show you one more thing, one more video if you got time. When I say that you folks are important, I'm not kidding, man. I am not kidding. If there's one thing I've learned as I've matured and grown older, it's just how much of our society is really screwed up, really just not helpful. Thanks, Michael Thomas. I appreciate you. The support lets me do this full time. I want you to hear this. Just hear what this man says.
After these permanent, because it requires an entire mass amount of people that are motivated to go after these permanent bureaucrats in Washington that are completely treasonous scum. So when the country and the collective understands who they are, then the national discourse creates the mechanism to where these people cannot walk outside of their home without their friends, family, relatives, and neighbors literally coming up to them and telling them how much they despise them. And then that creates the national jury pool so that when the evidence comes out with the mother of all Twitter files, stand by, to showcase their treasonous communications on Twitter DMs that can then be applied to the local jurisdiction sheriff that has the readiness, willing, and able-bodied deputized posse to go ahead and conduct that live stream swatted raid to start picking off those individuals that conducted that treasonous, seditious activity, from spying on Trump to violating our First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment, because it requires an entire...
Yeah. When I say you're important, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. That's a Michael Flynn associate. When they said they're going to fill the void, this is what they're filling their head with. So yeah, the fact that you can take a look at a situation and say, okay, look, that's fascism, that you can see and understand what's going on, and you've got the good morals and judgment to say that's not right. No, we're not going down that road. Folks, this is what's out there. You're important. You are important. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. You are incredibly important, and I appreciate you being here. And that's what I'm going to leave you with, folks. That's what I have for you today. I do have an announcement after the stream ends. If you'd like to stick around, enjoy some Texas cities at night.